Previously on Libel the Bible.
Israel favors Joseph amongst all his sons and makes a bedazzled robe for him.
Joseph's brothers, seeing the bright and colorful garment made for their brother by Israel, become visibly upset, correctly believing their father favors Joseph.
Joseph, apparently unable to gauge the extent of his brother's jealousy, proceeds to tell them about two dreams he had, each one symbolizing his eventual dominion over them.
Upset by the robe and his dreams, the brothers plot to kill Joseph, but are talked out of it by Reuben, who nevertheless can't stop them from selling Joseph into slavery.
Judah forces his son Onan to impregnate his dead son's widow.
Onan deceives everyone and refuses to spill his seed into Tamar, and instead blasts it all over the floor each time he enters her.
God is angered by either Onan's spilled seed or his deception, and kills him.
On Bachelor's Weekend, following Judah's wife's death, Judah hires a prostitute who, without his knowledge, is Tamar and impregnates her.
Meanwhile, Joseph, sold into a powerful Egyptian soldier's house, quickly rises through the ranks as a result of God's grace and is running his entire house.
The commander's wife, taken with Joseph's good looks, repeatedly attempts to seduce him, but he refuses each time.
Finally, angered by his constant rejection of her advances, she accuses him of attempted rape, and Joseph is thrown into an Egyptian prison.
And now, episode 10 of Libel the Bible. Hey, welcome back, everybody. I'm Scott.
I'm Rusty.
And, what's up, Ross?
So, let's start off the show with a simple analogy. Let's say you're Lou Gehrig and I'm Babe Ruth. And sometimes Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth showed up to the park. They weren't really feeling it that day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And some days when they weren't feeling it, they may have gone like a combined 0 for 8 with like 6 strikeouts. And some days when they weren't feeling it, maybe one of them had a good game and the other didn't, or maybe they both had good games.
Mm-hmm.
And some days they showed up and they felt great and they had great games, and some days they showed up and felt great and had bad games.
Okay, we covered all the permutations, I think.
All this to say, I think it's safe to say, like, we're coming into this episode feeling like Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig on an off day.
Why did you pick those two?
Because they were like,
They're the only players that have good or bad days?
They were maybe the two best, like, teammates ever. So if you take, like, two teammates.
Why do I got to be the one with ALS, though?
All right, you could be the big fat, like, smoker, womanizer, you know, who died at, like, 47.
Oh, did he die that young?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he abused himself, man. He had a fun time.
I'm feeling a little abused of myself today.
All this is to say that
We're not coming with our A game
to
today.
the audience, like, well, right, we don't feel like we're coming with our A game. So, but who knows? Maybe this turns out to be the best show that we've done.
Based on the content that we read, I'm not really feeling the content.
Yeah,
either.
it's not that great. And also, at the end of last episode, I told everybody that we were going to be doing 40 to 42. So there's been a little adjustment to that. We're actually going to do 40 through 44.
No, 43.
Genesis.
I didn't read 44.
You didn't?
I don't think so. Hold on.
See, this is what we're talking about, folks. That's
Well, you kept changing
first
it, man.
strike out of the game.
All right, so should we pause here and let everybody read the extra chapters?
I'm good to only go through 43.
Okay.
That's fine. It's going to be one of those shows. We're going to slog through it.
Yeah.
And
which is a shame because this is a pivotal. This is like a milestone episode. This is number 10. We're hitting double digits.
That's right. This is our 10th episode. We're only getting worse with each episode.
Wow. Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse.
So, all right. So, we're going to do Genesis 40 to 43. And when we left off in Genesis 39, our main character for this particular section, Joseph, he was in the prison of his employer.
Yeah, he's running Shawshank.
Yeah, he was falsely accused of attempted rape. But I mean, it doesn't seem like it's all that bad for him. It could have been worse.
Yeah, I don't know. Would you rather rule in heaven or rule in hell or serve in heaven? So I don't know.
I'd probably rather rule in hell.
I don't. Yeah. So yeah, and he's ruling the prison. So maybe it's probably
hell
not so
seems
bad.
fun.
Yeah.
Like cool people aren't really getting into heaven.
Yeah. Do you think he's selling drugs in prison?
I think he might be making like prison liquor. You know, like you go to the toilet and.
I don't care what you had to do in there. In there, you had to do what you had to do.
I don't care how many dicks you suck. Just don't talk about that shit out here. Just homophobes.
I was talking about the drug dealing.
Well, I mean, we all have our vices. Scott, yours is drugs. Mine is sucking dick. So, Genesis 40.
Mm-hmm. And
I felt like neither of us felt this, right? I even warned you. Like, I texted you. I was like, I'm not liking this section. I don't know how much I have to say. Maybe you will feel different.
I don't feel different.
Yeah, you don't.
So let's start it off. The dreams of two prisoners. So apparently two clowns in prison have dreams.
Well, they were in the Pharaoh's court, right? The cupbearer and the baker.
Right.
All right. Do you know what the significance of the cupbearer is?
He's got passes the wine to his boss, no?
Yes. And so this is a very significant role because the Pharaoh has to trust tremendously the person who's giving him the wine.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah, okay.
So this is a person who he's probably known for a long time.
I wonder what he did.
And yeah, so he winds up, I think the Bible describes it as offending the Pharaoh, like him and the baker.
Did they offend him at the same time? Same issue, or
maybe the Pharaoh's wife is fat and they were like making fun of his wife, you know?
The one that screams rape when it doesn't happen?
No, that was the other guy. That was like his captain at arms. That was the wife of the captain at arms.
That wasn't Pharaoh's wife?
No.
Oh, that's right.
Joseph
went
to work for the captain at arms, and it was his wife. So whatever. So the cupbearer, who is a very important position, someone who has to be completely trusted by the Pharaoh. He tastes the wine prior to giving it to the Pharaoh. Him and the baker offend the Pharaoh, and he throws them in the same jail that our boy Joseph is staying in, which is in the house of the captain.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like
the guard.
Doesn't seem like a room with bars and stuff.
Yeah, so I'm not like quite sure what kind of prison this is.
It's like minimum security, maybe.
Yeah, like last week when we did the episode, I pictured, more like a medieval like the dungeon of a medieval castle, like all dark and
like shackles on the walls and stuff.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like that.
Yeah, doesn't seem so bad actually.
So they get thrown in prison, and they're in prison for like a while. It says, I don't know what a while is because people live to like 140 on a regular basis now. Yeah. So a while could be 30 years, a while could be a year. I don't know. So after a while, each one of them, the cupbearer and the baker, they each have a different dream, but on the same night.
Right. Yeah, so one guy dreams of a vine and some branches, like 3 branches or something, and he dreamed that he had the cup, and I guess he squeezed the grape juice into the cup, and he gave it to the Pharaoh.
So in fairness, we don't know any of this yet because like they wake up and they're like all out of sorts, and Joseph, he's been placed in charge of taking care of them. Like he's kind of like their servant. The captain of the guard makes Joseph like their, butler or whatever. So he's taking care of them.
Oh, really? I wasn't really paying attention.
And he sees that they're out of sorts, sort of like you are today.
Yeah.
And he's like, come on, man, tell me what's wrong. Like I'm with God, and only God can interpret dreams.
Yeah, of course.
So if you tell me like your dreams, I can interpret them.
Yeah. So,
and that's when
he finds out about
That's when the cupbearer tells about his dream.
Yeah, so he goes, what's my dream mean? And Joseph tells him, means you're going to be out in 3 days, and you're going to go back to your old job, and everything's going to be fine.
Yeah. So he tells him, like, in his dream, like 3 vines grew, and then the vines had 3 branches, and they sprouted grape, and then he squeezed the grape into, like, the cup of the Pharaoh. So in Genesis 40, verse 12, then Joseph said to him, this is after Joseph, like, hears his dream, this is its interpretation. The 3 branches are 3 days. 13 within 3 days, Pharaoh will... Oh, I'm sorry. I read the verse number 13. I was like, what the fuck? So Joseph said to him, this is its interpretation. The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your office. And you shall place Pharaoh's cup in his hand, just as you used to do when you were his cupbearer. So the cupbearer's pretty happy. He's like, oh shit, I'm going to get out like in 3 days. So then
and get his job back.
And be right back where he started.
Now, if Pharaoh trusted him before, like, are you going to trust him so much since you just had him locked up? Or
I mean, maybe his particular offense wasn't so terrible. Because again, I don't know what offend means. Offend can mean many different things.
And listen, maybe the baker, as we'll see, really was the one, but he couldn't like let the cupbearer not get away with it, So he had to like, it's like when you arrest the undercover person along with the real perps, you know, just to make it look good. So he's just like, yo, man, just go to jail for a couple days.
They could have been accomplices, or who even knows? Maybe it was like some separate instances. We don't know. We don't know what happened. So the baker, he's like, oh shit, like, you know, that guy got a good fortune. Zoltar, can you read me my fortune? So he tells Joseph his dream, and it's Genesis 40, verse 16. He says, I also had a dream. There were 3 cake baskets on my head, and in the uppermost basket there were all sorts of baked food for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating it out of the baskets on my head. And Joseph answered, this is its interpretation. The 3 baskets are 3 days, so just like the other guy. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head from you.
I had to read that like 3 times to see, did I read that right?
And hang you on a pole, and the birds will eat the flesh from you. So I'm assuming this guy is not happy with his fortune.
I'm thinking, you better do some bad behavior to stay in prison for a little longer.
Yeah.
Let this blow over.
So, on the 3rd day...
God, was it because he didn't have a lid on the basket? I assume there had to be a lid on the basket. What happened to the lid?
On the one in his dream on his head?
Yeah.
I don't know. You want to ponder that for a little while?
Yeah.
I mean, let's think about it. Let's think on it.
Maybe
Where's
he was
the
just
lid?
so sucky. Maybe he didn't realize that he needed to have a lid.
Well,
maybe that's why he
that-
was offensive to the Pharaoh. He's dumb. Plus.
Thank you. So that's the whole metaphor, right? The lid represents his head. The lid was gone.
So,
Which is apparently what the Pharaoh's about to do to him.
so he's got bread for brains? That's,
Was it bread?
yeah,
No,
baked goods.
It was baked goods. Nah, probably like yummy, you know, Danishes.
Black and white cookies?
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure. So they get released on the 3rd day. It turns out it's the Pharaoh's birthday, and I guess he wants to drink wine, and he needs a baker. He's like, fuck, man, you know, I just fired these guys, and, you know, HR is still going through resumes. We haven't hired anybody yet. I got to get these guys back. So that brings us to Genesis 41, right? Or am I skipping a part?
I feel
I'm,
like...
I'm skipping
told,
a big part.
He told the baker, tell Pharaoh about me. Like, he seems to have forgotten I'm in jail.
Yes,
Yeah.
Joseph, when he gave him the favorable, like, insight into what the dream meant, he's like, make sure that, you know, you tell the Pharaoh
I said
I'm,
hi.
I'm the
yeah.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they go, and the Pharaoh does restore the cupbearer to his former position, and he kills the baker, right?
Yeah.
He does, like, I think he hangs him. I'm trying to remember if he hangs him or if he decapitates him as Joseph described. Either way,
he's dead.
Yeah, he kills him. Dead. And that gets us to Genesis 41. Joseph interprets Pharaoh's dream. So as luck would have it, 2 years pass, and the Pharaoh has a dream. Do you remember this dream at all?
Yeah, it was 7 cows came out of the Nile. I don't know if they went out of the actual river, and they were like plump, healthy cows.
Yeah.
And then 7 scrawny cows came out of the river and ate the heavy cows, but they didn't even gain any weight, so it didn't even look like they ate them.
Yeah. First of all, that's gross. Like, I've never seen a cow eating another cow. And I'm assuming they were healthy cows, meaning the unhealthy cows or the skinny, thin cows like preyed upon a live cow. That's quite the vision.
They're starving, I guess,
I mean, talk about mad cow.
See.
So he has this dream where the sickly cows eat the healthy cows. Then he had another dream.
Yes, he did.
Which is pretty identical. Instead of cows, it was stalks of grain.
Right. 7 fat stalks and 7 skinny stalks, and the 7 skinny stalks eat the fat stalks. What?
Right.
I didn't know they had mouths, but
So, if he was any normal person, he'd be like, I had some bad dreams, But because this is the Bible and everyone's delusional, like, he's really concerned about this dream. What does this dream mean? It must mean something.
Sometimes
It
a dream
must
is just
mean
a dream.
something, right?
Yeah, he sends out a call for like all the magicians and the wise men of the land to interpret his dream.
Yeah.
You would think just one person would take the job and just make up some shit.
Yeah. Do you know about this sign language person from Florida? This woman?
No.
Oh, yeah, you don't know this? So I forgot which disaster. It was like a hurricane or something, like maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago. A big hurricane hits Florida, and
That doesn't happen too
the
often.
governor goes on TV. I'm saying the governor. It could have been like an official, maybe FEMA, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And they go on TV to tell people what the situation is. And, they always have the sign language person there.
Yeah.
It turns out, like, she didn't know any sign language. She, like, faked her way into the job. And she was just, like, doing, like, fucking gibberish.
Didn't that happen in the UN or something, too? There was some guy that was totally faking it?
I don't know. That I don't know. But I definitely know about this woman.
That's pretty funny.
And so, yeah, listen, I'm sure a magician could have just shown up.
I'm just wondering, how did, like, nobody catch on to that really quickly, though?
Well, they did. Well, nobody there knew sign language. People on TV
Somebody had to call.
started calling
Okay,
in, and
all
they
right.
were like, yo.
All right, so it didn't go on for
she's
any
not
length of time.
saying anything.
It didn't go on for any length of time then. Okay.
Well, it went on for that press conference.
Okay, but that's fine. I just wondered if she had like multiple.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe she had like earlier work, like.
Yeah, maybe.
And so the Pharaoh is not getting an answer about his dream. He doesn't know what the dream about. And then the cupbearer's like, oh, shit, by the way, 2 years ago when I was in prison, this guy, he interpreted my dream. And so the Pharaoh calls him.
I like he admitted his fault, too. Like, oh, shoot, I totally forgot to do what I said I'd do by that guy. Like,
I mean, I don't know that it was that altruistic. I think, like, he wanted to get in good with the Pharaoh.
Sure. But I think he truly just forgot the way he, like.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't think, like, why would he?
Well, he had this dream that really sunk his spirits because he didn't know what it meant. And then this guy in prison tells him exactly what the dream is. And it's not like the dream was fulfilled 10 years later where he would forget. It was literally 3 days later. He's out of prison. And the exact situation that the guy prophesied happens.
You're right.
You would think he'd be like,
That would be
oh, shit, that's exactly what the guy told me 3 days ago.
Wait, no, maybe you don't say that to Pharaoh, though. Because Pharaoh's like, whoa. So I'm just following some other dude's script.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe he tells his buddies.
Right. Like I'm a puppet. Like I'm God's puppet.
Do you think when
I try not to think.
when the cupbearer's dream came true, do you think he turned to the baker and went, "Damn, dude, you're in trouble"?
I think he looked at him and he like took a step over to the right,
Yeah. melted into the scenery. Yeah.
I plead the fifth.
Yeah. So I guess now Joseph comes out of prison he goes to the prison
So
or whatever.
he gets summoned to the court of the Pharaoh, to be like the dancing monkey. Like, I'm going to tell you my dream, interpret my dream for me.
Yeah.
So the Pharaoh tells him the dream. And then Genesis 41, verse 25, Joseph says to Pharaoh, Pharaoh's dreams are one and the same, because he told him about the cows and the stalks of grain. Pharaoh's dreams are one and the same. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. And then he proceeds to tell him that the cows and the stalks, the healthy ones, represent 7 years of abundant crops. They're going to have a tremendous surplus of crops, which they're going to wind up needing because, Joseph tells them, those sickly cows and those shitty stalks of grain, they represent the severe famine that's going to follow the 7 years of excellent grains and surplus.
All right, getting back to dream interpretation.
Oh, I'm so bad at this.
What?
Dream interpretation? Like when my favorite shows have a scene where one of the characters
I'm not asking you to
has
interpret
a
dreams.
dream. Oh, no?
No, I want to talk about the
Oh, perfect. All right.
yeah. All right. So,
I mean, we're having a show where we're discussing shit, and you're getting back to dream interpretations. I don't know. It seems reasonable.
I guess it would be. But so how does one charge for dream interpretation per dream? Would Pharaoh have to pay him twice because he wanted 2 dreams interpreted?
I think you just rely on the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh calls you in, you do a service, and the Pharaoh's I'll give you 20 goats.
What
I don't think you negotiate.
Or what if it's a regular person? If this is your business, you're a dream interpreter.
And
and so
the baker calls me to
Right. Yeah, this baker. He won't be calling you again. He's not a repeat customer. So
I bet you they work on barter.
Okay, so do you charge per dream? And if you charge for 2 dreams and the dreams happen to be the same dream, essentially, do you get a discount? Do they waive the cost? But it's not the dream interpreter's fault that both your dreams were the same. I'm just wondering about the whole economics of it.
Maybe it's the first dream is, you pay for it. Second dream, 2 for 1.
Okay, maybe.
Buy one get
maybe
one.
like a punch card. You get 5 punches.
Maybe it's just you're paying for gas.
Yeah. Okay.
And so he tells him, meaning Joseph tells Pharaoh, because of the coming famine, what you're going to have to do is in the 7 years that precede that famine, you're going to really have to stock up on your supply. You're going to have to take all the surplus. You're going to have to store. You're going to have to basically farm the land.
Yeah.
Farm the shit out of the land, get as many animals as you can to
Yeah.
slaughter. You gotta really winter is coming, basically. You gotta prepare for the long night.
Yeah. So he actually tells them I guess have almost governors assigned, and they take 1/5 of all the product that's produced, and they stockpile it. They create a strategic reserve.
Yeah, and he even tells
Great
them
plan.
he's you're gonna need an administrator to look over all this to make sure that everything is being done properly in preparation for this, because shit's gonna get bad.
Now I'm wondering that you said that they farmed the hell out of the land. What if they caused the very famine they were trying to prepare for?
Who's them?
By
By
over-farming the land, it comes into a dust bowl, or however that works.
Yeah. As opposed to God creating a famine. Because God is orchestrating all of this.
Are we back to this again?
Back to what?
He's not all-knowing. He's not all-controlling. Yet. We don't know.
Well, I don't know if he's all-knowing and all-controlling, but I'm going to suggest this. We know that he created everything.
Yeah.
All right? I mean, that was Genesis 1.
Yeah.
He creates the world in 6 1/4 days, right?
Yes.
Okay. we know that he flooded the entire planet, killing everyone, right? So we know he can at least do that.
I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm just saying maybe he's just not being bothered with it.
No, but I'm saying based on the text, he's like guiding Joseph through all of this. Like Joseph is in all these positions because God wants him in these positions.
Right.
And so he's telling Joseph, here's my plan. For the next 7 years, there's going to be abundance, followed by 7 years of nothing. You know, so God is orchestrating this whole situation. And so after Joseph tells Pharaoh, we need an administrator, Pharaoh makes him an administrator. And not only does he make him an administrator, Scott, in Genesis 41, verse 42, the Pharaoh, removing his signet ring from his hand, Pharaoh put it on Joseph's hand.
Yeah.
He arrayed him in garments of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. So he's basically turning him into like a 1980s rapper. He's giving him like his bling, you know? Yeah. He's putting the gold chain around his neck. He's like dressing him up in Adidas and shit, you know, fat laced Adidas.
Nice.
With the taps. Taps. You never had taps on your Adidas?
I don't think so.
You put the taps like on your toes, so when you walk, they like click on the ground.
I did not do that. I don't even recall anyone doing that.
Yeah, I'm old. Yeah. And so, yeah, he basically pimps my ride. You know, he comes out like all pimped out, and he's gonna be the administrator. He's gonna be in charge of like all this shit.
Did you ever put the baseball card on the spokes of your bike? So
nah, that's like 1950s shit. Oh, and you know what else, by the way? To keep that analogy going, not only does he get the ring, the gold, the fine clothes, he had him ride in the chariot of his so he hooked him up with like, you know, a fly like caddy.
He's basically the second in command.
Like an El Dorado, maybe a Mark 7.
Yeah, Mark 7. That's a nice car.
The car was awesome. And so over the next 7 years, during the plenty, Joseph travels all over Egypt, ensuring that the crops, the animals, whatever surplus there is, gets stored.
Yeah. And then the Pharaoh's like, can we find anybody else like Joseph? Can we get another one of these guys? Like, he's really praising him.
We need to clone him. Yeah. Joseph winds up getting married, and he marries like the daughter of a high priest.
No, I think that was Pharaoh's wife.
No,
the daughter of. Wait, I've seen this name. Who's put? Wait a minute. Is that the daughter of the captain's guard?
Go ahead. What's the name? Do you have it written down?
I can't read my own handwriting. I really can't, and I don't want to sound like I'm not trying to pronounce people's names again.
Well, it doesn't matter. No one can hear you because you're off mic.
Oh, sorry. Potts I don't know. That's not the woman who cried rape?
So the names are so similar. I also thought that, and then I went back to look. There's like an A. There's an extra A on this person's name. Okay. So this is a high priest. This is a different person. But yeah, at first I made the same mistake. Right. So he marries
I'm in good company then.
His daughter, and they have 2 sons together.
Yeah.
And after 7 years, a huge famine, as prophesied,
and everybody's coming to Egypt for food,
falls on the land.
Yeah, so good planning.
And that gets us to Genesis 42.
Yep.
Joseph's brothers go to Egypt. So Joseph's brothers, for those that don't remember, first we're going to kill them, and then they sold him into slavery to get some money. Like, why get nothing out of it?
Yeah. So
faked his death to their dad, all that.
Yeah. 10 of them go. Benjamin, the youngest one, he stayed home.
Right. So Benjamin is here's the bond between Benjamin and Joseph. They're both Rachel's sons.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And Rachel is really the one that Jacob loved. she was his true love.
Oh, okay.
She's the one that he wanted. Remember,
Right,
then
right,
he had to
right.
marry her sister.
Benjamin's the one that killed her in childbirth, right?
Correct. He's the youngest of all of them. He's the last son of Jacob. He's the youngest one.
All right, so he stays back, I guess, to protect them.
He stays back.
So 10 of the brothers go to Egypt to get some food.
Yeah.
So they get there, and Joseph recognizes them.
Well, that's what's weird. They get there, right? And they meet with Joseph.
Yeah.
That's like going to buy, like, going to like a Tesla dealership and buying your Tesla from Elon Musk. You know what I mean? Like, Joseph was in charge. He was the administrator for all. So is he the one that doles out? Like, so because people are coming from all over, right? Like, Egypt is selling like its surplus to people from all over, which is why Jacob sends the brothers to Egypt get food. I don't think Joseph knew they were coming. He happened to be there.
It was just
behind the counter.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because he probably doesn't do all the
Weird.
transactions.
Like, he seems like way too important to be interfacing with customers.
Maybe he was undercover boss.
Like Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
I totally knew he's Kylo Ren.
I love that clip.
Yeah.
So he recognizes them. They don't recognize him, and they speak through an interpreter.
Right.
So even the language is different.
Right.
So he accused them of being spies.
Yeah. Well, he recognizes them, and he's gonna fuck with them because they deserve to be fucked with.
No doubt. Yeah,
Like,
no
you
doubt.
know what I mean? They were going to kill him. They sold him into slavery. He's like, fuck these fucking guys.
Yeah.
So he starts scaring them.
Yeah. He says, you got to prove who you are
Yeah,
or whatnot. So your father's still alive. He's like, he's getting...
He's getting details about them.
You got another brother?
And he knows what the truth is, so he's trying to see if they're being honest with him.
Right.
Which it winds up, for the most part, they are. They're being honest with him. And he puts them in prison. He winds up putting them in prison. And he keeps them there for 3 days.
Yeah, then he lets them all out, but detains one of them, right? And says, I'm going to hold this dude.
He keeps one of them.
You guys go back, bring your brother. Right? Yeah, bring your brother, and then you can get this one back. That was the whole deal?
That's it.
Okay. All right, cool.
So he sends them home, but before he sends them home, he tells his servant, send them home with like all the food that they came for, but also put the money that they paid for the food into those sacks.
Why do you think he did that?
I have given this as much thought as I could without really trying to give it too much thought, if that makes sense. Like, I tried, like, I wanted to think about it.
I got you.
I just,
Whatever.
I don't know. I didn't have, like, the energy to really think about it. I don't know what the symbolism is.
Yeah, okay. So they travel all the way back home.
Maybe he's got, like, a soft spot. I mean, if not for the brothers, definitely for his father. His father never wronged him, and this food is
Who's, by the way, being called Jacob again at this point.
Yeah, so this is what I'm saying. It's so interchangeable. Israel, Jacob, Israel, Jacob. So I've been referring to him as both also, right? Yeah, like I just realized. So Jacob is Israel, Israel is Jacob. And so, yeah, for whatever reason, he puts the money back into their sacks. They discover it on the way home. That's at a certain point when they stop to feed their animals.
Yeah.
And they come home, right? They tell Jacob.
Who's not happy.
Joseph's brothers return to Canaan is the title of this section. They return home, and they tell Jacob everything that's transpired.
Yeah, he's not happy about it.
And he's not happy specifically about the part where Benjamin was asked for, right? Like, bring me Benjamin, your youngest one. What's weird is, so like the sons are trying to convince him to go.
Mm-hmm.
Then Reuben said to his father in Genesis 42, verse 37, "You may kill my 2 sons if I do not bring him back to you." And it's like, why would you ever pledge the lives of your children on any mission?
And would Jacob do that? Why
By
would
the
he kill
way,
the innocent kids?
Reuben is so convinced that this will be successful. He doesn't offer his life. He's like, yo, let me go, and if I don't succeed, you can kill these two guys over there.
Well, you know what? I guess it's just like when people say, yo, I swear on my kids. It's just a figure of speech, but
Yeah.
they probably do actually kill these.
I mean, they're trying to convince Jacob, like, we got to go back. Let's do what we can, bring Benjamin so we can get our other brother out.
And he says to him, like, if you had let us go already, we'd be back twice already. Like you keep delaying us. Let us go. So,
Yeah, they're headstrong. But Jacob is not going to give up Benjamin. He refuses. They don't go.
No, they go.
No, they don't.
Are you Jedi mind tricking me?
I'm not. So that gets us to Genesis 43. The brothers come again bringing Benjamin. So
What are you talking about? Oh, wait, you missed it. There was this whole paragraph about them all emptying their sacks out on the floor. One after another, they emptied their sack all over the floor. They took turns emptying their sacks.
Judah was teaching him. Oh, no, not Judah. His son. His son was struck dead for doing that.
Yeah.
So they do go back, but they don't go back right away, Scott.
Oh.
So they came back with all this food, remember?
No.
They went to Egypt. They talked with Joseph. The reason they went to Egypt was to get food because Egypt had food because of Joseph. Remember?
Yeah, they came back with all the food and the money. Mm-hmm. They told Dad what's going. Mm-hmm. And they have to go back. Now they have to bring Benjamin back. What am I missing here?
They didn't go back. He forbid them from going back, so they didn't. And so they stayed there, but then eventually the food ran out again, so they had to go back.
Oh, okay.
So they were back, like, for years probably. Because, remember, the famine is going to last for 7 years. So they must have brought back a lot of food, but they don't know how long the famine is going to last for.
Do you think the brother's still in prison? Is like, yo, what's up with these dudes?
I wonder how the brother's being treated. There's no mention of, like, any of that. But it seems like...
He's just looking at the tick marks on the wall, like the days go by.
Honestly, in biblical times, it seems like people are away from one another for so long, and they know that there's going to be an eventual return, but, like, they're away for, like, decades.
Yeah.
So, like, a year or two is, like, almost nothing in this time.
All right.
And so they run out of food. Now they have to go back. And they make a plan. Jacob says, fine, I'll send Benjamin with you. Because they're like, we can't go back unless we bring Benjamin. That was like, we can't go back, buy food, unless we're bringing Benjamin. So Jacob is like, all right, take like all these offerings and give it to them.
Some gifts, yeah.
Same thing he did with like Esau.
Yeah.
And also double the money. Like, bring back the money that they gave you originally that you paid.
It's the honorable thing to do.
And pay for this.
Because it could have been a mistake. They,
Right.
Yeah.
And so they go back and they get taken directly to Joseph's house.
Yeah.
And the servant is there, and he's like, oh, we're going to have, like, this big fucking feast. But they're all nervous, because they're like, what the fuck?
Oh, I forgot to point out, when Joseph sent them back to get Benjamin, Reuben turns to his brothers and says, this is because of the wicked thing we did to our brother.
Yes.
So he's talking, like, he admits in front of Joseph what they did, but he doesn't realize that because they spoke through an interpreter. But Joseph understood them, and it made him upset.
You're absolutely correct. Before Joseph turns them, like, sends them into prison or sends them back home.
Send them back home, yeah.
They're talking to one another, right? He's there. They don't know that he speaks their language. And he totally does. And he overhears them lamenting what they did.
Yeah,
Like they're lamenting it. They feel bad about it, and it forces him to feel bad. And maybe that's why he put the money into there. Like he felt a little like.
Do you think they felt bad
them.
about it, or they were just like, "Damn, man,
They got caught, so now it's
they call him as a bitch."
Right, right. I mean,
I think Ruben was on the up and up because he didn't want any part
Ruben
of that.
for sure, yeah. Because Ruben's like the oldest, and he's a daddy's boy.
We like Ruben though. He's all right.
I mean, what's he have to worry about? He's getting the birthright. He's the oldest. So now they're at Joseph's house after returning with Benjamin, and there's going to be a big feast. They're a little nervous because they don't know what to expect. And Joseph shows up. They have dinner, right? Mm-hmm. At one point, he gets overwhelmed by being around his brothers.
Yeah, he has to go out and
He's
cry.
got to like leave the room. He cries a little bit, and then the party's ready to go back. You know, by the party I mean like the brothers are. They buy their things.
No. Wait. Can I get back to the meal?
Sure.
So Pharaoh kind of sat by himself as I pictured it.
Pharaoh was there?
Not Pharaoh. Joseph. I'm sorry. Joseph kind of sat by himself, like it's like the king type. All the Egyptians sat by themselves, and then the Hebrews sat by themselves because it's an abomination to Egyptians to eat with Hebrews.
Yeah, there's segregation.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming the Hebrews, are they slaves? Are all of them slaves in Egypt? You think there's like free Hebrews?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
Do they even mention slaves in Egypt? Oh, except for the
Well,
ones
they
that
don't mention
sold.
slaves at all in the Bible, except when you get sold into it, but then you're a servant once you're a slave, you know? Like you're a maid or a servant or a sex toy, like, you know.
All right, so
So he gets overwhelmed at dinner. He's obviously, he feels like something for his brothers, even though they did what they did to him. And he sends them away with like all their food, but he tells them that he wants Benjamin. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to read this section. So this is Genesis 44.
I didn't do it.
You didn't do it. There's nothing. It's believe
Oh,
me.
you know what? So teach me 44.
Yeah, it's going to be like when you did 36 or whatever
I think this
it was.
this is you staking out for a solo bid.
It's just nothing. This is, again,
The
just like
Rusty
the rest
show
of it.
was the pilot right there.
So in Genesis 44, it's called Joseph Detains Benjamin. So as they're leaving, as the caravan of all the brothers is leaving, Genesis 44, verse I don't even know, 44 it says.
I guess.
Then he commanded the steward of his house, fill the men's sacks with food. I don't know why that's funny.
All right, grow up, man.
I mean, I do know why it's funny. I don't know why I'm laughing at it.
Because it's funny.
Fill the men's sacks with food, as much as they can carry, and put each man's money in the top of his sack. Put my cup, the silver cup, in the top of the sack of the youngest, with his money for the grain. And then he sends them on their way. And then he sends like his steward to overtake them. And for his steward to be like, yo, one of you stole
I was like, I was wondering
the
why they did
silver
that.
cup.
Okay.
So, of course, most of them are like, oh, you could totally check our shit and fucking, you can kill like anyone who has it because none of us have it.
Nice.
So the steward looks through it, and of course, he finds the silver cup in Benjamin's sack. So they all go back. I mean, long story short, they all go back, and Judah.
I gotta assume Benjamin was like, yo, for real, I had no idea how it got in there.
Nah, Benjamin, I don't even know what his personality is because they talk about Benjamin, but like he doesn't say all that much. He's just like a passive
He's just listening.
character at this point. Judah does all the talking. Judah like completely pleads and begs with what's his name? Joseph. He's like, please, like, take me instead. Don't take Benjamin because it's going to kill, like, our father. Like, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. Joseph's like, fuck off. He sends the brothers back.
What's going to happen with Reuben's kids then?
He keeps Benjamin.
What's going to happen to Reuben's kids?
So that's where Genesis 44 leaves off. It was basically like, it was a whole bunch of stanzas about basically that.
So he lets them all go except for Benjamin.
He lets them all go.
All right.
And that's where where this particular section ends.
Should we do another section? Because we only did like 43 minutes here.
Nah, man. I think this is
short
good. I
one,
think
I think the audience should also know that this is the first time we've done 2 episodes in 3 days.
Yeah.
So there might be a little
I don't think so.
episodic fatigue.
I think it was the material. I think the material this week was a little bit weak.
And the hangover. Yeah.
And your hangover. Yeah.
All right. So what do we read next time? So you can change it 9 times to trip me up?
Shit. Next time, let's do Genesis 45.
45.
Through the end. Fuck it. Let's finish Genesis next time.
How big is that?
It's not that much.
All right.
Well, we can always modify it if we feel after we read it. Fuck the audience.
Make 45 to the end. All right. Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah. Is that all?
That's it. Peace out.
Peace and long life.